Once upon a time, there lived a kind and admired teacher named Eliza Moore. She taught grade 2 at Sunrise Academy and was known as one of the best teachers the school had ever had. Her classroom was always filled with laughter, neat drawings on the walls, and children eager to learn. Parents praised her patience, and students loved her gentle voice. Eliza believed teaching was her calling. She treated every child as if they were her own and took pride in shaping young minds. To her, the classroom was not just a job, it was her world. But what began as a peaceful routine would soon turn into a story of obsession, deception, and painful consequences. Everything started to change the day a new student joined her class. His name was Noah Bennett, a quiet little boy who spoke softly and kept mostly to himself. On his first day, Eliza knelt beside him and said warmly, "Welcome, Noah. You're safe here." He smiled shyly and nodded. Eliza showed him his desk and encouraged him to participate. Though he rarely spoke, he always listened attentively. Eliza admired his calm nature and began paying closer attention to him. She did not yet know that Noah would soon become the center of a storm that would change her life forever. Later that morning, a tall man walked into the classroom to submit Noah's documents. He was neatly dressed, confident and soft-spoken. "Good morning," he said politely. "I'm Mr. Adrian Bennett, Noah's father." The moment Eliza looked up, her breath caught. Something about him, his voice, his posture, the quiet kindness in his eyes, made her heart skip. She forced a smile and replied, "Good morning, sir. Your son is settling in well." Adrian thanked her, bent to whisper something to Noah, and left. Eliza stood frozen, her heart racing. She had never felt anything like that before. From that day, Adrian filled Eliza's thoughts. Every morning, she found herself watching the school gate, waiting for him to arrive. When he came to drop off Noah, her smile widened without effort. "Good morning, Mr. Bennett," she would say, her voice soft. He always answered kindly, unaware of the storm he had stirred. Eliza began to notice small things about him. How he held his son's hand, how he spoke gently, how respectful he was. In her mind, admiration slowly turned into longing. She told herself it was harmless. But deep inside, something dangerous had begun to grow. Eliza started giving Noah special attention. "Excellent work, Noah," she would say, even when his answers were only average. She brought him extra snacks and small gifts, colored pencils, biscuits, stickers. Other students noticed. One girl whispered, "Why does Noah always get special things?" But Eliza ignored them. She convinced herself she was only helping a shy child feel confident. Yet her kindness was no longer for Noah, it was for his father. Every smile she gave the boy was secretly meant for the man she desired. Soon, Eliza began asking Noah questions she had no right to ask. One afternoon, she knelt beside him and said softly, "Noah, what does your daddy do for work?" "He owns some companies," the boy replied. "And your mommy?" she asked. "Are they still together?" Noah hesitated. "They argue sometimes. Daddy said they might separate." The word separate echoed in Eliza's mind like music. She forced a calm smile and said gently, "Sometimes change can be good, Noah." But inside, her heart danced. For the first time, she imagined a future where she stood beside Adrian, not as a teacher but as his partner. That night, Eliza stared at her ceiling, whispering, "Maybe this is fate." She pictured family dinners, school meetings, and herself as Mrs. Bennett. The thought made her smile. From that moment, she doubled her efforts. Noah received better treatment than any other child. Even when he made mistakes, she praised him. "You're the smartest boy in this class," she would say. Parents began to notice. Some whispered among themselves, but Eliza no longer cared. Her heart was no longer ruled by reason. It was ruled by desire. One afternoon, as the children packed their bags, Eliza knelt beside Noah and spoke in a soft, secretive voice. "Noah, I want you to tell your daddy something for me." The boy looked up, confused. "What is it, Miss Eliza?" She smiled and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Tell him that I love him. Noah's eyes widened. And don't tell your mommy, she added quickly. It's our little secret. She gave him a chocolate bar and tapped his nose playfully. Noah nodded slowly, though he did not fully understand. Eliza went home that day, giggling like a teenager, imagining Adrian's reaction. But that evening, Noah sat in the back seat of his mother's car, restless. Mommy, he said softly, Miss Eliza told me to tell Daddy something. Mrs. Bennet glanced at him through the mirror. What did she say, sweetheart? She said I should tell Daddy that she loves him, Noah replied. And she said I should not tell you. It was our secret. Mrs. Bennet said nothing. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. She drove in silence, her heart pounding with disbelief. That night, when the house was quiet, she picked up her phone and dialed Eliza's number. Hello. Eliza answered, her voice dreamy. Is this Miss Eliza Moore, grade 2 teacher? The woman asked coldly. Yes, who is this? This is Mrs. Laura Bennet, Noah's mother. Eliza froze. I heard your message, Laura continued. You told my son to tell my husband that you love him. And you told him not to tell me. Eliza forced a nervous laugh. I think there's been a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, Laura snapped. Leave my husband alone. Silence filled the line. Then Eliza replied, her voice low and bold. Your marriage is already falling apart. Maybe you should accept what is ending. Laura whispered. Consider this your warning, and hung up. Eliza paced her room, anger burning in her chest. She can't stop destiny, she muttered. Determined, she decided to speak to Adrian herself. The next morning she arrived early, wearing a dress far more fitted than her usual professional attire. She applied bright lipstick and whispered into the mirror. This isn't wrong. I'm just loving him the way she couldn't. When Adrian arrived with Noah, Eliza stepped forward. Good morning, Mr. Bennet. Could I speak with you privately? He hesitated, then nodded. They walked into a quiet corridor. Eliza faced him, her hands trembling. I know this may surprise you, she began, but I've had feelings for you for some time. Adrian blinked in shock. I respected that you were married, she continued. But when Noah said you might separate, I thought maybe there's a chance for something real. She stepped closer. You're kind, responsible, everything a woman could want. For a moment Adrian said nothing. Then he sighed. I didn't expect this. But instead of rejecting her outright, he said, I'm traveling for a few weeks. We can talk when I return. He took her number and gave her his. Eliza felt like her dreams had come true. That night Adrian called. Hello, Eliza, he said gently. Her heart nearly burst. Hello. I'm so glad you called. They talked for hours, about childhood dreams, disappointments. He listened, laughed, and spoke kindly. I admire your confidence, he said. And you've been in my mind for weeks, she confessed. The connection felt real, powerful. Eliza lay on her bed afterward, staring at the ceiling, whispering, The universe is finally on my side. She truly believed she had found love. At school, Eliza became even more attached to Noah. She took photos of him in class and sent them to Adrian. Look how handsome your son is today, she would text. Adrian often replied, Thank you for taking care of him. Eliza bought Noah new lunchboxes, toys, and snacks. She called him special names and let him sit beside her during breaks. Other students grew distant, but she ignored them. In her heart, Noah was no longer just a student. He was her bridge to Adrian, her future. One afternoon during art class, Eliza asked the children to draw their families. Noah carefully drew himself between his mother and father. Eliza stopped beside his desk and whispered, Why don't you erase Mommy and draw me beside Daddy instead? Noah looked up, confused. But my mommy lives with me. Not for long, Eliza replied sweetly. Just draw it, Noah. One day you'll understand. Slowly, the boy erased his mother and replaced her with his teacher. Eliza's heart raced with excitement. She took a photo and sent it to Adrian. "He's already getting used to us." Adrian replied, "I can't wait for our first date." Days later, Laura called again. "Why did you tell my son to erase me from his drawing?" she demanded. Eliza laughed coldly. "Your son needs stability. I'll be a better mother than you." "So you think my husband belongs to you?" Laura asked quietly. "He's already mine," Eliza replied. "You should move on." She hung up, feeling victorious. Nothing mattered now. Not her job, not her students. Only Adrian. She counted the days until his return like a bride waiting for her wedding. When Adrian finally called, his voice was warm. "Eliza, I'm back in town. I can't wait to see you tonight." She rushed to prepare, choosing her finest dress, perfecting her makeup, spraying her sweetest perfume. By evening, she sat alone at the restaurant, heart racing. When Adrian walked in, she nearly cried with joy. "You look beautiful," he said. They talked, laughed, and held hands across the table. He spoke of a future, and Eliza believed every word. In her mind, she was already Mrs. Bennet. As they stood to leave, Eliza's heart raced with excitement. But outside the restaurant, her world collapsed. Standing there was the school owner, and beside her Laura, holding Adrian's hand. Laura kissed her husband calmly. Eliza stared in horror. What is this?" Adrian looked at her, his expression hard. "Eliza, this was never real." Laura stepped forward, her eyes steady. "We were never divorcing. You misunderstood a conversation." Eliza felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. The school owner held up a folder. "This contains your messages, recordings, and reports of your conduct. You used your position to manipulate a child," she continued. "Effective immediately, you are dismissed." Eliza's lips trembled. "But he said he loved me." "I was protecting my son," Adrian replied coldly. "You made him afraid." Laura added, "You tried to erase me from my child's life. Look at what you've become." Eliza stood in silence, her fantasy in ruins. Tears streamed down her face as she turned away. Her heels echoed on the pavement like a funeral drum. She had lost everything, her job, her reputation, her dignity, and the man she believed was her destiny. That night, alone in her room, she whispered, "How did I let it go this far?" But there was no answer. Eliza spent weeks in isolation, replaying every moment. The secret messages, the lies, the child she had used. She realized too late that what she had called love was nothing more than obsession. Her desire had blinded her to morality, to boundaries, to humanity. She had not only destroyed her career, she had hurt a child. Meanwhile, Noah slowly returned to normal. With counseling and his parents' care, his nightmares faded. Laura and Adrian held their family closer than ever. They spoke often about the danger of misplaced trust and the importance of protecting their child. Eliza searched for work, but her reputation followed her. Schools refused to hire her. Friends stopped calling. She had traded everything for a fantasy that was never real. In quiet moments, she finally understood the truth. Love is not forced, taken, or built on another person's pain. Obsession disguises itself as affection, but it destroys reason. When fantasy replaces reality, everything collapses. And so, Eliza learned her lesson the hardest way possible. Respect for boundaries, families, and other people's lives is what keeps the heart grounded. She had chased what was never hers, and in doing so, lost everything she once had. For no dream built on deception ever ends in happiness.